Alright, so hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Sorry I've been so absent for so long. We'll get into the reasons for that a little bit later on. But today's video is going to be about how to set up OBS to allow you to get your thoughts out into the world, because I think this whole process of being able to take what it is we think and spread it globally to anyone who has an internet connection has probably been one of the greatest innovations of Western civilization since the printing press. So, I know OBS can be a little bit weird to get set up first of all, so I guess the first step on the journey of 1,000 miles will begin with downloading the software off of the OBS website. So head over to obsproject.com and download OBS Studio, which is basically the latest iteration of OBS's software. Now, once you get that set up, you are going to have to set up some different scenes. So what we have over here, these are all the different scenes that I have set up right now, and then over here it's basically what those scenes are made up of. And then over in this mixer side here we have the different audio sources. So the desktop audio I keep muted just to stop any beeps from notifications or anything like that from interfering with the video stream. Mic number 2, that's going to be from the EMU 404 I use for guitar modeling software. Mic aux is going to be for this Blue Yeti Pro here. And this video capture device, I just keep that muted. So another thing you want to make sure to do here is I set up a mic delay of about 250 milliseconds, because with the Logitech C920 I find about 250 milliseconds is appropriate to get rid of that syncing issue between the video and the audio. The mic aux 2 I have set to 248 to also account for the 2 millisecond delay in processing the guitar audio signal, so that when I'm playing, everything is also lined up properly. So, starting up with the scenes over here, what you would basically do is you go to Add, and then you can select the let's see here, whatever the scene name is, and then you go over here to determine what that's going to be made up of. So right here over on desktop left, this is actually going to be a combination of the camera and the left monitor here, and just the bottom section of that. So what you can actually do is, once you have your monitor set up on there, you can actually adjust what part of the monitor it's looking at and then resize the window. So what you would actually do is grab the corners of the whatever scene you're trying to edit, and that's how you'd resize the window. But, and this is something that I did do a little bit of research to figure out, was actually picking the specific location, is you have to press Alt, and then you can actually drag the window to close it down so that it'll cut off the stuff on the sides, so that you can stay focused on the content itself. Now, one of the reasons that we're going to do some scene switching here is, if you have different smartphones that you've had from the past and you just haven't gotten rid of them, you can actually set them up as IP webcams, and I'll leave the Android link for the Play Store in the description below. And this is just a software program that will run on your old phone, and you can use it to broadcast the details from the camera out into your network. So let's take a look at that. There's a couple that we have set up. So I have my old Galaxy S3 down here, and I run it in black and white because, frankly, it's probably really old and not too powerful, and black and white's a good way of being able to maintain a half-decent frame rate. And then the other one we have is the Galaxy S4 up there, and I use that with the same software to get a bit of a more establishing shot. So I'm not really sure exactly how I'm going to use these different effects, but I guess I'll use one when I'm trying to focus on a point, and then perhaps the other one when I'm trying to speak more generally. And then we also have a mix here where we can actually mix all the different cameras together along with a capture of the desktop, which will transition us nicely into this Corsair gaming software. Now, I use the Corsair K95 keyboard in order to assign hotkeys. These are the G keys down here on the side, and what you can do is, if you assign a new action, name it, and then you can actually record a keystroke. So what I usually do is I'll go Control 1, Control 2, something like that. Oop. And in doing so, I've actually switched the scene. So you want to record that, and you can assign it to one of these guys. And then when you go back into your Corsair, not Corsair, geez, OBS over here, and you go to Settings, you can actually set these up as hotkeys. So let's take a look here. Okay. There we go. All right, so for example, for camera full, I have that set up to be G key 11, which is being translated by Corsair software into Control 8. So now whenever I hit G11, it actually just goes to Control 8, which OBS can recognize and allow me to switch scenes. So this will allow me to transition a little bit more easily between camera angles, as well as the different desktop sections that I want to review. So I'll have one on the side, in this case just to show you the OBS scene setup, one in the middle to show you something I'm focusing on this screen, and then maybe something over onto the right screen so I can show you perhaps a website or a news article or whatever it is we happen to be reviewing. So over there, we got desktop right, and that'll allow us to, like I said, show you some web stuff. Let's see what else we got up here. So yeah, I think you might have seen that earlier, but I also have a scene for a close-up, I guess, so that I can make a point much more directly, instead of having to go into the software and adjust that. So there we go. Alright, so we got camera full. This is just my default one where I can look right into the G920, C920, sorry, for Logitech. So many different pieces of hardware involved here. I'm getting ahead of myself. And let's see, we got the S4 cam off up there, the desktop and camera, which will allow us to have a small section of picture-in-picture of whatever's right in front of me, as well as the camera. All the cameras and the mixed together, so I'm not really sure what the use of that is. It'll just kind of be a demonstration, really. Game full screen. I haven't really had a lot of luck with OBS and gaming software. I find it's very CPU intensive, and it really has some lag issues. If you guys want a really good software-based game capture software, I'd recommend going to Plays.tv, and their software is really effective for capturing game software, game footage. Sure. Then we have the S3 cam down here. Now this one, I've taken a bit of inspiration from an old show called Malcolm in the Middle, where he would break the fourth wall and look down directly into the camera as a way of making a point more directly. Desktop center, that's the one where we can show whatever's right in front of us. Desktop left, in this case for OBS scenes, and then desktop right. So that's just a brief overview of the different ones we have set up here. And what you do is you go over to the sources. So in this case, we have a display capture as well as the videos capture there for the camera. All right. Now, I think audio sources, yeah, we already went over that, and the delay. Okay. So next up, I want to talk a little bit about using a game controller, in this case, a G27 steering wheel as a MIDI controller. Okay, so, excellent. Okay. Getting a little glitchy. All right. So, first up, we have this program called Loopmidi. Now, what you want to do with this is use it to create 64-bit virtual MIDI ports. Now, virtual MIDI ports are essentially a way of converting different signals through the PC without needing those physical 5-pin connectors. And this is going to be come in handy a little bit later. So let's just take a look there. That's the one. So we just have the one in use right now. Actually, I don't need that one, so I can get rid of it. Make things a little bit easier. And then we're going to use that in combination with this program called Glovepie. Now, what Glovepie is essentially doing is it's a progressive input emulator. And if you just head over to Google and do a quick search for that, it'll give you a link to the homepage where you can download the software there free of charge. And again, what it's going to end up looking like is something like this. Okay, so this is not crazy programming or anything like that, but what it's going to allow you to do is convert, let's see, like a POV hat on the joystick down into a continuous controller. Amplitube 4 really only runs off continuous controllers. It doesn't recognize individual notes, and what this does is it it'll make that conversion for you. So what we have here on this side is the MIDI signal you want to emulate, and then over here is what button specifically is going to do that. So it really just gives you a huge list of every possible button combination on any possible controller, and again, that seems to be some sort of standard that allows them all to work like that. So in this case, we have CC19 as POV down 1, and I'm going to show you in Amplitube why that's useful in just a moment. Okay, so I've also found out that in order to get these Control 1, Control 2, whatever keyboard shortcuts to work, you actually have to have OBS selected. So I guess I'm going to have to get back in the habit of just making sure that that is selected. Okay, so over here in our Amplitube software, this here is my boogie tone. So this is using a Mesa Boogie triple rectifier, and what we want to do is head over to the Midi. That's down on the bottom right there. Select that, and you can actually have a global controller, so this will work across all your different patches, or you can have one specific to the preset. So in order to use the first, second, and third gear to convert between the channels, each one of those is actually set up on its own continuous controller in Glovepie. And what you want to do is think of the channel as sort of a knob. So all the way at 1, it's going to be channel 1, and all the way up at maybe 5, it's going to be channel 2, and all the way up at 10, it's going to be channel 3. So as you can see here, we have 14 to 24%, we have 38 to 59%, and 72 to 100%. So that's essentially the position of that knob, and they're attached to these different continuous controllers. So which one was that? 23, 24, and 25. So as you can see, that's these ones here. So button 9, 10, 11, that's essentially gear 1, gear 2, and gear 3. And that's going to be continuous controller 23, 24, and 25. So that's going to be what's changing that knob basically from 0 to 10. So again, first gear, oh, I actually have to run this. So once you're done editing, press run. And then when you go over here, first gear, second gear, third gear. Okay. Next up, we have the Stompboxes. Now these are set up on global continuous controllers. So we got the volume, the wah, and I think this one was actually, yeah. So the whammy is a separate one because I guess it's not used all the time, but because volume and wah are so common, they actually can be set up as global presets. So what we have here, number 4 and 11, let's see here. I think that's these guys here. So the volume pedal and the foot pedal and the expression pedal, these are actually mapped out as basically a position between 1 and 16,383. I guess that's the number of steps that are possible. But you need to convert that into a step between 0 and 127. I guess that's just a MIDI standard. So the effect here is that when I tap on the wah, it turns it on, and then it allows me to use that travel of the pedal to activate the different positions, and then I can just tap it again to turn it off. The wah pedal here is just used with the brake. Oop, there we go. All right, so you can use the brake pedal all the way down an octave and then all the way back up an octave, and then the clutch is used for the volume. So again, these are all just continuous controllers being converted over. And then in our post effects over here, I have just the individual buttons set up to turn on, say, chorus or delay in post, so that I can keep those on and off. Okay. So I hope that was fairly straightforward. I know it's kind of complicated, but what I'm going to do is just leave the code I'm using here in the description below, so you guys can just copy and paste this right into to Glovepie if you like, and that way you won't have to fiddle around and figure out what each one of these buttons do. Okay. All right. So what's the purpose of all this, really? I mean, I guess I'm still trying to figure that out, but I find one of the things that Jordan Peterson mentioned was that we don't, I think he got this from Jung, where what we think is not really what we think. It's more about what we say is what we think, because our thoughts are constantly competing for dominance. And if we listen to our thoughts and we believe them to be true all the time, we can get ourselves into a lot of trouble. So I find that by speaking what I believe to be the truth is one of the best ways of getting myself sorted out. I find this to be a little bit easier than writing. I mean, I'm just lazy, but I find that writing is not the most effective exercise for me, but then again, maybe I haven't given it enough of a shot. But I also find that in the process of sorting myself out through these videos, I can hopefully help other people get themselves sorted out as well. Now, one of the reasons that I've been absent for so long is, Well, it's partly because of all of this, sorting myself out stuff. Doing gaming videos for a little while, I've kind of come to the conclusion that I don't want to give people any more distractions, because if we just allow ourselves to succumb to these distractions, we can find that the years will just go by and you don't really find yourself any farther ahead than you were before. And I definitely don't want to contribute to that for anyone in any way. And I mean, maybe probably do a video on games every now and then, but I definitely don't want it to be the focus of the channel. Authors like Jordan Peterson and Jonathan Haidt have definitely contributed a great deal to helping me get myself sorted out. And we're going to try to distill some of that material and spread it as far as we can, because I think although Western civilization has always had threats from the outside, I think its greatest threat right now is its apathy from within, where a lot of the freedoms that we have are taken for granted, and at this point it seems that a lot of them are also being eroded. And it's basically up to us at this point, as we enter adulthood, or have been in adulthood for a number of years, that the burden of that is now falling on us. And if we fail to maintain that, then it's all going to collapse, because as Peterson says, we sort of live on the corpse of our culture, and if we fail to revivify it, it's just going to decay, and it's going to be outcompeted by the rest of the world. And as we enter a more global economy, I suppose, and competition from outside is increased, we're going to have to step it up in order to remain competitive. So I guess that's partially why I want to do these videos on a go forward, because over the last couple of years I've gone through a number of physical and mental health issues, and that's caused a complete spiritual and political inversion. Spending the majority of my childhood in government schools, I guess I didn't realize what kind of an effect that had really had on me, but as I got out into the world, I realized there's a lot more out there that we were never really taught about. And as the more I discover of it, the more I realize I know basically nothing about how things work. So, you know, I guess I, in a way, miss the arrogance of youth a little bit, if you guys know what I mean by that, where I guess when you're 20, you kind of think you know everything, because when you were 10, you knew nothing, and you're more aware of that. But I guess the older you get, the realization comes up that that process is never really going to stop. You're always going to see your younger self as more ignorant, and I figured if I can just accept that and move on and do my best to mitigate my ignorance through these videos and through the discussions I have with other people online, that hopefully I can mitigate a little bit of that ignorance. So that's the plan on a go forward. And if there is any clarification you guys need to see on Amplitube, virtual MIDI, or OBS, definitely leave me a comment below so that I can try to clarify that for you, or even make a video dedicated specifically to that topic. So again, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to join me on this little video journey today, and we'll see you next time.